From debris to black holes, our universe is filled with mysteries. And to unravel some of these mysteries, Professor Arun Mangalam and T. Mageshwaran are working on a new model to explore supermassive black holes and how they rip apart stars. Most black holes lead isolated lives and are very difficult to study. So, astronomers study them by observing their effects on other matter nearby, like stars and gas. For instance, if the black hole's tidal gravity exceeds the star's self gravity, the stars get disrupted, and this phenomenon is called tidal disruption events. The tidal disruption events are crucial and useful phenomena to detect and predict the mass of supermassive black holes in idle galaxies. The team had earlier calculated the rate of disruption and its statistics, which focused on the observations of a given stellar disruption event. And in the new study, they inferred the black hole mass and the point of closest approach of the star's orbit. This time dependent model provides insights into disk evolution in a black hole gravity. To understand more about this study, it's best to hear it from Professor Arun Mangalam himself.
The basic problem we studied was the observational appearance of a star that comes very close to a supermassive black hole. As you know, in most of the supermassive black holes, all of them are at centers of galaxies. So during the formation process, the supermassive black hole forms at the center of galaxies, and there are so many galaxies. There are 10 to the power of 11 galaxies, which means that there are about 100 billion galaxies in the universe, roughly. And they are at different distances from us and at different, so they appear at different epochs to us, at different redshifts. And so the presence of these black holes at different epochs also tells us a little bit about the existence or the distribution of black holes in the universe, its mass, its spin. So the mass and spin are very important quantities of the black hole. And so these are probes of the universe itself. So if you are able to study properties of black holes at different epochs, different distances, different ages, effectively they're all the same thing, then we are able to make some comments about the universe itself. So studying black holes has many important ramifications besides just studying the properties of black holes, which by itself is an interesting subject. Most black holes are isolated and it's impossible to study. So there is a theorem called the no-hair theorem, which just states that the black hole is just a mass, a spin or an angular momentum and charge. So to measure black holes is quite difficult. So one of the things that helps us discover properties of black holes is when matter falls on them. And in this particular instance, you have a star that comes within the gravitational influence of the black hole. So at a certain point, it comes very close, and when it comes very close to the black hole, the point of the star that's closest to the black hole and the point of the star that's farthest from the black hole, that's the diameter of the star, feel different gravitational strengths, right? So if you know that the gravity goes as the acceleration due to gravity goes as gm by r squared, and so when you take a derivative of that it sort of stretches the star, because the one that's closer to the black hole, the part of the star that's closer to the black hole, gets pulled more as opposed to the part that's on the back of the black hole. So when this happens, and when the gravity is the difference in the gravitational tugs is so large that it overwhelms the gravity of the self-gravity of the star, then it gets ripped apart. So what happens when it gets ripped apart? There's a lot of debris that's created, and the debris swims around and forms a disk, and then the disk, matter from the disk falls onto the black hole, and the debris itself, while forming the disk, it sort of the matter enters into it. There's a sort of a rate at which the debris enters into the disk, and when the matter becomes very hot, because it's quite natural that when you're in front of the black hole, there's a gas friction. The friction can be of two types. Either it's due to gas or due to photons, and both these things have been explored in this work. So when the luminosity, that's the light that comes out, is detected by various detectors in X-ray, optical, UV, etc., then you see a certain shape of that detection. And so all this was known. There have been several events, around 25 to 30 events which have been detected. But our specific model, and the unique feature of this model, is to do most of these calculations and predictions in a semi-analytic way. That is, to use formulae. We've developed formulae and tools, analytic tools, to predict these light curves. And it also, therefore, from using these predictions, we are able to say what is the mass of the star that was shred, what was the mass of the black hole, what was its spin. So these are the properties that we're after. So quite naturally, when you have an analytic formula, it's quite quick to assess and bring out a reasonably good estimate of these quantities. There are people who do simulations, computer simulations, which take weeks and several weeks to run, and then when you do it for different parameters, and then you have to extract the information. But this is very quick, so that if there is an event that's detected, immediately we are able to make predictions, and then the instrument settings are tuned so that we can pick up more details of the event. So this is called a tidal disruption event. And as I said, there are three aspects. That's the matter falling into the disk, matter getting out because of too much heat that's generated, and some matter that falls onto the black hole. So all these three aspects are combined in this model. And so there's an initial rise, and then there's a peak, and it falls off. So we have developed formulae for this, specifically for the predictions of this event, and the details of how much radiation is coming out, what is the kind of friction that's there in the disk, whether it's due to photons or whether it's due to gas. Having said that, what are the useful aspects of this model? Once this model is applied to several observed events, you can create a lot of statistics about masses of black holes, its spin, the redshift where it's located. So once you do this, and there are going to be there are several satellites. For example, eROSITA is coming up. There is LSST, future missions, and AstroSat is an Indian mission. So they will pick up many of these events. So when they pick up these events, you will build a catalog of these events, and that will help us, as I said, in the initial phase. So all this will provide clues about how black holes are formed, how they're living their lives. Sometimes, as I said, many of them are living their lives quietly because there's hardly anything falling on them, and some of them are active. We already know when we see these, most of the quasars, as they're called, are active systems where there's already gas forming, and there's a gas disk formed, and that's continuously falling onto the black holes. These are so overwhelmingly powerful things that you will not see a star falling onto the black hole as an event, because the light from the gaseous accretion disk overwhelms the light from any stellar event.
These observations will help astronomers probe into black hole demographics, thus adding great value to the astronomical studies. Thank you for watching. Please do like, share and subscribe to our channel. Jai Hind.